video, we'll be comparing 6 realtor lies should you buy now.
Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Welcome back everyone to my channel. Today we're going to review a video that was sent to me by one of my buyers and concern of our real estate market. So I basically cater to the South Florida market. That is where I'm licensed at, but I am a licensed realtor and I do coach realtors in different states of the country. Okay, and I have also done business internationally. So I am an international realtor. I've been doing this 28 years. Out of my 28-year career, for 7 years, I was a mortgage underwriter. So I've underwritten loans for the banks and approved them. And I've traded in the stock market for securities as an underwriter in bulk. I do have vast experience. So I'm gonna go ahead and review this video for you. And thank you to my buyer that inspired me to make this review today, because there's a lot of alarming information out there and people are concerned, and they're concerned, where's this real estate market going to go? Well, Florida is like an alien state. We are very different than other states and other cities throughout our country. Is our market going to change? Absolutely, it's going to change, because the only thing that's constant in this life is change. So it's always everlasting changing. Are we going to see prices decline? These are answers we're going to address, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share with you this video. Let's go ahead and share the video screen. Let's review this. This is how he starts the video.
With overall home sales at its lowest point in the last 2 years, rising interest rates, and overall unfavorable housing market conditions, it's no wonder that real estate agents need to come up with some creative ways to get you to buy a home. And in today's video, I am going to give you 6 lies that realtors will tell you right now in 2022 in hopes to convince you to buy a home. Now, let me just say before we get into it.
Now, before we get into it, right? He says that rates are rising. If you have been in this business long enough, like I have, 5%, guys, is not a high rate. And for a lot of you that are buying, and maybe are first-time buyers, know that when you buy, your interest rates, okay, are tax deductible. So what you pay on the rate of your mortgage, if you really calculate it with a financial advisor, or you do your numbers and you analyze them, once you write off what you pay in taxes, what is your rate really at? These are things that people do not talk about. And listen, I'm not even dressed up or anything like this. I did this, it was very spontaneous because I have a passion for this business. And I don't want you guys to leave money on the table. The buyer that inspired me to do this has left over $100,000 in the table because he didn't take my advice in the first place. But these are the people that make me grow, and I love him like family. And I'm grateful that he's in my life, because look what this whole process has actually evolved to for me making this video and reviewing this video he just showed me. So we'll continue to hear what he has to say.
That people are going to buy real estate no matter what I say on this channel, no matter what.
He's damn right about that. If you don't buy now, somebody else will. And you need to have someone that has experience in this market. This is a very niche market. As I said, Florida is an alien state compared to other states.
Different real estate agents say, people just find deals and they're...
Disclaimer, he is a realtor here in South Florida, okay?
Interested in buying regardless of the market conditions. Sometimes people just need to move and they buy a home. That's not really what we're talking about here. We know those people are going to buy regardless of what anybody says. But what we're trying to address in this video is people basically being convinced or pushed into buying when they're not really.
Listen, nobody's ever pushed. When you buy, you take people's opinions. And there's a saying, which I'm not going to say it here because it's a little bit vulgar, but everybody has an opinion, right? Just like everybody has there you go.
Sure. And basically taking someone else's word for it that everything's going to be okay. And that's the type of thing we're going to be addressing in today's video.
Things are going to change. Again, change is the only constant thing in life. That's how we evolve. That's our markets go up and down.
Because guys, I'm a real estate agent, but I'm an honest person. And at the end of the day,
and I'm super honest as well, and I love that he disclaims that. And one of the things that I have in my book that I say, I am the founder of the intuitive selling process. So I'm always going to sell from a space of truth. And I evolve how I work with people from a space of the heart, coming from truth, so that people can prosper. Okay. And I think any of the buyers that I've worked with, or anybody I've ever coached, or anybody I've ever interacted with, you can tell you that if they cross my path, I definitely help them prosper.
I never push anybody to do anything they don't want to do, regardless of whatever it is. And I don't think pushing someone to buy a home is the right thing to do either.
Correct.
So let's jump into
I'm glad we agree on that.
Real estate agents will tell you to get you to buy. The first one, if you're waiting for interest rates to go lower, it's unlikely, because the circumstances that have created the ultra low interest rates probably won't be seen again for quite some time. So the idea here is you're telling someone, hey, you shouldn't wait for rates to go back down, because by the time that happens, that's going to be who knows how long, which I agree. It's going to be a long time before rates come back down, because they need to keep rates up right now to fight inflation. But
ding, ding, ding. Totally agree. Okay. Totally agree with what he said. Should have, could have, would have doesn't work anymore, but you definitely every day. I'm going to show you guys a rental screen, and you're going to tell me where you're at in the screen. Okay. I'd really like to know, because if you've been renting, these are things that you're not even like aware of. Okay. So let's just show this actual screen. And give me 1 second. I'm going to share from my computer so you can see what we're looking at. This is something that I share in my presentation to buyers, right? So basically, this is how much have you been paying in rent? For someone on an average here in Florida or in many places, I have buyers that have been paying about $2,750, and they've been renting for over 30 years, or between 15 and 30 years. That's almost $600,000 to $700,000 in rent. And this is what I call the pain chart. You need to really refer to this when you're listening to all this mumbo jumbo, because you're definitely paying rent and your money is being thrown away. And you know what? At the end of the year, if you're paying right now, that rents have gone completely crazy. Okay. If you're paying, at least in a rent right now, $33,000 times 12, my friend, you're paying $36,000 a year. And if you multiply that by 5, that's another $180,000. Don't get caught up with all this negativity. Yes, the market's going to change. Yes, that's all going to happen, but you need to prosper from where you're at. Okay, so let's move on and continue.
The side of the story that agents are not telling you is that even though rates are up, and they're probably going to continue to go up, we're starting to get more inventory on the market. We're seeing more price cuts in different housing markets across America. And with more of that inventory and more...
Again, America, where I cater to South Florida market and Florida market. And yeah, their prices, but their contingencies that sellers are asking for. We are still in a seller's market. It literally takes months before we're in a buyer's market to almost a year and a half. Okay.
Cuts means a better deal for you as a buyer, and most likely lower prices to come. And throw that on top of a looming recession. If that were to happen, which is looking more and more likely by the day, you're going to have even more inventory to choose from in the near future, which will ultimately drive prices down.
So here's my opinion. Are prices down? No, they're not going to be down. They're going to stabilize. The correct word to use is our market is going to stabilize. It's just common sense. We can't keep on going up and up and up and up in prices. And that's been happening based on another review. Make a comment below if there's a video that you've seen that you'd like me to make a review, because I just don't want you to be bid out and wait another year or wait another 2 years to buy, because you're thinking that prices are going to come down 150. Prices are going to stabilize, and people are still relocating for Florida for many reasons, which that if you want a video about that, comment below. I'll make a video about that. But I found this to be very encouraging for me to comment on. But yeah, obviously rates are going to slowly. And by the way, 5% is not a high rate, like I mentioned before.
So even though interest rates are higher, the prices will be lower. And that's going to bring us directly into our next point. The next lie that real estate agents will tell you is that if prices drop, your mortgage payment will still be higher due to the higher interest rates. Now, this could be true, but it does depend on how high rates can go, because nobody really knows where the mortgage rates are going to end up, right? They predicted that.
So what he's talking about here, he's talking about someone saying, well, if prices go up or go down, you'll still be paying high. You know, you might as well buy now. And they're right. Buying now, you'll buy something that still hasn't gone up and rates are still around high 4s, 5s, and sometimes 6, depending if you're buying a condo or not. Depending on the property you're buying is dependent how the bank puts your rate, because there are different programs and different types of properties. So, you know, it's not just if you're a first-time home buyer, it's the type of property you're buying. There's different criteria that banks, lenders price your loan at, right?
The mortgage rates would be around 5% by the end of the year, and they're already hovering close to 6%, and it's not even summer yet. So we don't know how high interest rates are going to go. I personally think they're probably going to go higher than they are right now by the end of the year. And the Fed has already said they're going to.
We can agree on that simultaneously. They will go up.
Continue to raise rates regardless of how.
So if you're in the market right now to buy and you're working with a realtor or you're not, it's time for you to buy and stop paying rent. Everybody needs a roof over their head.
May affect the housing market or the stock market, because getting inflation under control is their number one concern. But here is the flip side, guys. As they continue to raise those rates, it will make housing become cheaper, because less and less people will be able to buy a home
Again, market is going to stabilize. What does that mean for you as a buyer? That is a gift as a buyer, because it's going to stabilize. Sellers will be more flexible and giving more incentives to buyers and to realtors. For those that I specialize in new construction, and there's a lot of value in that. And maybe I'll make a video on that, why you want to buy new construction versus old, which I think I just got another idea. So yeah, there's a difference. And if you want to see a video on that, comment below and let me know.
Today's prices with increased interest rates, and that will force sellers to lower the price of their homes, because there will be nobody left to buy them if they don't. So that's basically the situation we're facing right now. And not only that,
mind you, look at the properties he showed you. Yeah, the properties that are coming on inventory right now are not the nicest properties. A nice property comes out and it disappears in hours from the inventory. And these are the type of things that I want to address in this video. Let's take it back. Let me take that back for a second. Look at the video he sends you, right? These are not like maybe your nice properties, right? Like that's not like, you know, we're talking about, you know, it's a market when someone's making a video and it's generalizing,
because there will be
these are not like your, you know, this is an average property, but it's not like, and this is in St. Pete's, right? Miami or South Florida is a very different market. And there's different areas. Orlando's a hot market, Tampa. You've got a lot of, you know, we also got Port St. Lucie. This is in St. Petersburg. We've got the West Coast, the East Coast. I specialize in, been doing this 28 years, but these are the type of things that I want to review, right?
Don't. So that's basically the situation we're facing right now. And not only that, I would much rather see you buy a home at a lower price at a higher interest rate than vice versa, buying a home at a high price and a low.
That doesn't even make sense. You can't even guarantee that. And if we compare it, what that person could have bought today versus at 8% rate, that's ridiculous. At 8%, you wouldn't be able to buy a house that you can afford now. Just do the numbers. 1 + 1 is 2. So you know what? These type of videos, you really have to like take in consideration everything that I'm reviewing.
Interest rate, because here's the thing. You can never change the purchase price of how much you bought your home for. But if you
this is the one why I got encouraged to do this video. Watch, listen to this part.
buy your home at a lower price at a higher rate, you can always refinance down the road. Even if it takes 5 or 10 years for rates to get to a lower rate than you have now, eventually you'll save some money by refinancing down the road. But you can never change how much you purchase your property for. And the other reason that's a problem is because when you buy your property at all-time high prices, you're also going to get an all-time high tax bill, which is something we're going to be seeing over the next year. We're going to see a lot of buyers who recently bought get high tax bills, and they're going to be shocked at just how much their property taxes are going to go up.
Okay. Let's talk about this. Why are you putting fears into people, right? Like taxes, very simple calculation, guys. Everybody, oh, well, taxes property, very, very simple. All this information is public information. That's number one. Number two, taxes are based on the sales price of your property, which is correct. And depending where you're at, it could be between 1.5% to 2% of the purchase price divided by 12. That is what your taxes are going to be. Now, I've ridden the wave of real estate, been doing this 20 years. My family's been doing this for 55 plus years. So I breathe, drink, think real estate. It's like brushing my teeth. Now, what happens like back in 2007, 2008, that the market, which was a completely different market, okay? That was a market that loans were being handed out, even if you were breathing. There were no income, no stated. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But to not, if you have a property that drops into value, the appraiser's office is tacked on assessments. So it's on the assessed value that you basically pay your taxes. So back in the day when, you know, the market went down, the tax appraiser's office did make assessments on the values, okay?
So I'd rather see you buy a property
But he doesn't mention you that. He doesn't mention that in his video.
at a lower price, have that lower tax bill, and eventually refinance when conditions. As that buying versus renting helps build wealth in the long term and comes with tax benefits that renting does not. Now, that's not necessarily a lie. However, it is a bit of a scare tactic to get people to buy instead of rent, because it basically says that renting is a waste of money. And I know a lot of you watching this video probably feel like it is. But I can personally tell you from my own experience that renting is not always a waste of money. There are definitely situations in life where
So he probably rents his property and has an own property.
I just 6 lies that realtors will.
I don't know him personally. I don't know if he has a real estate portfolio or not, but I've always prospered when I purchase. For instance, I purchased an investment down south that was really going to be an investment, but I'm actually living it. And that's made over 100. I remember when I was buying it, it was down in Homestead, a city that has been exponentially growing in South Florida. And I completely went and invested there. And the whole area has gone up about $200,000, right? You have to strategize how you buy and where you buy. So no, you're not going to rent anymore. Buy your home with your realtor and stop looking at these crazy videos and take action. And if you are qualified to buy, you are a blessed person. Focus on manifestation and forget all this negativity.
Now in 2022 in hopes to convince you to buy a home. Now, let me just say before we get into it, buy a property at a lower price, have that lower tax bill, and eventually refinance when conditions are favorable. The next lie is that buying versus renting helps build wealth.
Okay, refinancing when it's favorable, that's crazy. It depends on your situation if it's worth refinancing. Doesn't even mention, I'm sure he doesn't have a financial background. Refinancing has a cost, guys. So when you're going to refinance, it's got to make sense. At least you got to lower two points of interest rate. And you have to also determine how long you're going to be in that property. Is it worth for you to do that? Versus refinancing, what you can do, and I'll give you my advice, is you can send extra money towards principal and reduce that interest rate, right? So let's say you got a 5% interest rate or 6% interest rate. Let's say 7% interest rate. If you send $500 additional with your monthly payment, calculate what your interest rate will be there and what you'll be saving. These are the type of tools that we should be giving to buyers and investors that are buying right now in this market. We need to be giving solutions, not focusing on problems. Buying is always better than renting. It helps build long-term. These are his saying. Let's keep on hearing this.
Long-term and comes with tax benefits that renting does not. Now, that's not necessarily a lie. However, it is a bit of a scare tactic to get people to buy instead of rent, because it basically says that renting is a waste of money. And I know a lot of you watching this video probably feel like it is, but I can personally tell you from my own experience that renting is not always a waste of money. There are definitely situations in life where renting makes a lot more sense. Say you're trying out a brand new area, you're not sure if you want to commit. Renting makes more sense. You just have a year lease, and if you don't like it, you pack up and move. You don't have anything to lose. My own personal scenario where renting made way more sense is I was renting a unit here in the building that I live in for about $2,200 a month. And to buy that unit back then would have cost around $4,000 a month. So I was saving almost half of the money that I would have been paying if I were to own that same unit. And one thing that actually put
Now, what he doesn't say, how much equity would he have made if he would have purchased?
me to buy.
Rent control. I'm sure. Ask him how much he's rent. They're asking him to pay now on rent. These are the type of things that are not mentioned in a video, guys. And I know that, we all have the right of speech and put out the information, but I wanted to review this video because my buyer is very special to me and he shared this with me. And I definitely said, you know what? I'm going to review that video and make comments on that video, because for people like you and others that are watching, they should also have someone that's objectively reviewing their comments. And I have 20-year experience. I don't know how long he's been doing real estate. I don't think he's been doing real estate that long. I haven't researched him in the system, but I just kind of did this unplanned and I didn't research him. But I can tell you he hasn't been doing this for 20 years.
Is because rents now here in Miami are so much higher than they were a couple of years ago, where the tables have now reversed, where it actually makes more sense to buy than it does to rent. And so because I was able to save so much money over the years renting, it actually allowed me to be able to buy the home that I'm in right now. If I was spending a fortune, paying for my previous place, I never would have been able to upgrade to this place because I just wouldn't have the leftover money to do so. And I also wouldn't have been able to make any other investments into things like gold, silver, Bitcoin, and other investment properties. So renting definitely paid off for me, and I'm sure it has for some of you as well. Definitely put in the comments if you've ever rented and were in such a great rental scenario that allowed you to get ahead in life. I'd love to hear about that. The next lie is that if you submit lowball offers, you will not be competitive and probably won't land.
Okay, this one we have to listen to and I'll pause it. You'll never get a place submitting lowball offers. Okay, let's see what he has to say.
Deal. Now, this one can be true. Now, as you can see, the common theme here, guys, is that there's like a little bit of truth in all of these lies. Now, that can be true. If you're looking at a scenario like 6 months ago when basically every single listing was selling over asking price, then yeah, submitting a lowball offer probably wouldn't be a good idea. But like I just mentioned in one of my recent videos, that right now is actually a great time to start submitting some lowball offers. And the reason is because we're already seeing more inventory coming to market, and we're seeing more and more listings out there with price
and look
cuts,
at the
those
city
listings were priced too high to begin with. Sellers do want to sell, otherwise they wouldn't be slashing the price. And this could be a good opportunity for you to jump in at an even lower price and see if they bite. You don't have anything to lose. Your agent's going to tell you not to do this because they don't want to waste their time writing up a bunch of offers.
No, your agent's going to tell you, depending on the market that you're in, what's going to benefit you the most. So basically, if you're going up a fence 3 or 4 or 5 or 7 offers, you want to be the most attractive offer for a seller. So it would be inspection periods. It would be what deposit you're going to give, right? You're not going to give a silly offer saying you're going to give a $5,000 deposit. Ridiculous, right? You're going to see what type of, how much is your financing if you're a cash buyer. There's so many variables. That's another video by itself that I would make just to give you some advice. But you need to listen to your agent. They know their specific market. Okay. Every market, every city, every property, every niche has an expert. and you should listen to your realtor of how they guide you. That's why you hired them, by the way.
That don't get accepted, because that's not a good way to spend your time as a real estate agent. And I agree, I wouldn't want to do that either. And that's why they tell you not to do it. But just keep in mind that for you as the buyer, it could pay off to write 40 lowball offers only to get one accepted.
Oh my God, 40 lowball offers. These are the crazy stuff that we hear people making comments on
later on, and you really end up getting a bargain that you wouldn't have gotten if you didn't write those lowball offers. The next,
by the way, if you're financing, guys, you're not going to be placing a lowball offer. Okay, you're going to be placing an offer that's going to get you into the property and you're going to move into. Here's the next one. Buyers should be advised to look outside their criteria in order to get a house. Buyers should be advised to look outside their criteria in order to get a house. Let's see.
Expectations based on today's market conditions, and they need to be advised to basically buy something that maybe they wouldn't normally buy, but you as their agent need to convince them to buy something that more suits what they can afford based on their needs. So this is basically flat out telling people that you need to convince them to buy something that's more realistic.
Guys, this is not convincing. I sell based on energy, right? I sell based on authentic energy. You know, you may not have realistic expectations based on the market. That's why you hire someone that is an expert and has experience to guide you and make shortcuts. When they mention this, no one forces you to do anything. Okay. I don't like when people are saying they convince you. You need facts and data. This information, some of the information that this gentleman shares is an opinion that he has. Please keep that in mind.
Like if they have a list of criteria and only half of it can be met because of their budget or their location or both or whatever, then you as the agent need to convince them to just buy whatever's available. Now, I think that is just terrible, and the buyer is probably going to highly regret that decision if they do fall for that and they end up buying a house, for example, that only meets half of their needs. And after only 1 year of living there, they're super desperate and miserable, and they end up wanting to sell just to get out of it. And that could end up losing them a lot of money in the long run. So I think this is a terrible practice. As a buyer, I do think you need to be flexible.
As a buyer, what you should be talking about, have a family that was paying $2,000 of rent and the rent went up to $3,000. It's to be displaced from your home. You want to buy security. You want to buy security. You want to find a place that you're not going to be told by the owner that they're selling, or that, next year they're not going to renew your rent, or, now your rent is higher, things like that. So, also there's information that was passed on to me. I think there's a new law based on COVID that there's a percentage right now that's been placed, depending on your county, and you should check that out, that they cannot raise your rent. But you have to understand that a property owner has a right to do what they want with their property. So you might as well be that person and take ownership if you can afford it. If you can afford it, you are blessed. So make sure you buy and you hire the right agent.
In today's market, especially if you are still in a competitive market, but only you should be deciding which criteria points you're willing to compromise on and which ones you're not. And you need to be realistic with yourself. Like, let's say if you're in a market where you have a list of 10 different criteria points and every single home you can find only has half of them, then you probably are shooting too far above where you can actually afford. And it's probably not going to be realistic for you to buy a home. And then you probably shouldn't be buying. Okay. Or you need to level with yourself and just say, listen, I need to take some of these things off the table and I will be happy with it. But either way, you need to do some convincing of yourself. Don't let somebody else convince you. The next
you need to basically make an educated decision when you're looking, and be realistic with your expectations and focus on the ultimate goal, right? That's what you need to do. Buyers who can't buy in their market should look in different markets and look at it as an investment.
Buyers that can't afford to buy in their local market need to be encouraged to buy in a different market, and they should think of this as an investment. What? Hold on.
Anything you buy, by the way, is an investment, whether it's your primary home, your second home, or an investment property. It's always an investment. Real estate has always been known as a long-term investment. So,
Guys, okay, this kind of goes back to what we just talked about. Nobody should ever be convincing you to buy somewhere different than you originally thought about buying, unless you're open to it. Maybe if you're going to be retiring to an area like Florida and said, maybe you were thinking about moving to Fort Lauderdale, but it's too expensive, so I'm going to go to Port St. Lucie instead. Maybe that's a decision you can make, but you should be making that decision. Don't let your real estate agent tell you this, because that is only for you to decide. Nobody should be telling you where you should live based on prices or your criteria or whatever. Now, if you realize yourself that you probably are going to be priced out of the market you're going to want to be in, then yes, maybe you should be exploring some alternatives. And, that's not the worst advice in the world. But the thing is, once they go back to saying they should think of it as an investment, to me, this is kind of crazy. Because if you're going to buy a property, most people who buy are looking for themselves, right? There are some investors out there. There's always going to be, institutional investors and mom and pop investors. But the reality is most people out there buy a home for themselves or their family to live in. And it's not an investment, guys. If the
totally wrong. It is an investment, because if you buy a property in the next 5 years or so, it's gone up about $50,000 to $100,000, and you only bought it initially, you haven't purchased a property before, and you bought it as a first-time home buyer. Okay, that is an investment. You have a return. So if you put in 20 and you've made over 100, is it an investment or not? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you.
It's not paying you cash flow. It's not an investment. It's a liability, because you pay money out of your pocket every month to.
No, such a thing as called renting, which right now people are going crazy finding rent. So I disagree with that.
Pay for that house. It's not an investment until you turn around and sell it and make a profit on it, or you turn around and rent it out to a tenant. And that
I have to give it to him. When people say, "Oh, I've lost money in the stock market or in crypto or a house," you haven't really lost until you sell, or you haven't really made until you get that money, right? So I do agree with that, but we all have to agree. If you look at real estate, the last 40, 50 years, it's always been a great return and a great investment. You just have to have the right strategy that works for you. And you have to make sure that you hire the right agent that's looking out for your best interests and helping you prosper. That's always what I do with everyone I meet, because these are people that stay with me, that work with me, that call me when they need anything that's regarding real estate. I'm always there.
Property pays you return each month. If one of those things is not true, it's not an investment. So don't let any real estate agent tell you that the property needs to be looked at as an investment, or you should be.
So I'm going to cut it off here and basically just let you know that these type of videos, I made this review so that if you're in the market right now, or you're thinking of buying and putting it on hold, do not put it on hold. This is still a great time to buy. Yes, prices have gone up in certain areas, but you're not going to be renting. This will be your home. The rates are fine. Yes, is our market changing? Yes, it's going to stabilize, which it takes about a year and a half to completely go into a buyer's market. And by that time, rates will probably be a lot higher. We can kind of estimate for them to go up to 8.5. And at 8.5, you're not going to be looking at the property that you can actually qualify for now, what you can qualify for them when prices stabilize. So these are things that you have to sit down with your realtor, discuss your points, discuss your situation, and they should be able to guide you. I hope this video served to help you prosper. And if you have any questions, feel free to call me, text me, DM me on Instagram, follow me below. All the links are below. Have a great one.